You are tuned in to a Fireside chat with Zany Mystic. Join us now on another exciting metaphysical journey. Relax, tune in, drop out, and take a seat by the fire as we explore new realms and possibilities. This is Magenta Pixie. You can find me at magentapixie.weebly.com. But now, here is Zany Mystic and guest. Enjoy the show.
To a Fireside chat with Zany Mystic. I am your host, Lance White. Tonight's guest is a fellow BBS hostess, Patricia Cori. I first saw Patricia in Patty Greer's groundbreaking and award-winning film, 2012, We're In It Now, and I felt an instant connection to Patricia. She's a renowned author, teacher, lecturer, host, and spiritual guide to the sacred sites of the earth. I could go on forever praising her what she's done on the planet here to help us awaken, but let's welcome her to the show now so we have as much time as possible with her live. Hi, Patricia. How are you?
Hi, I'm wonderful. Thank you for that great introduction.
You're very welcome. You deserve every bit of that and more. I just want to say before we get into any deep subjects here that I absolutely love your book, Atlantis Rising. It's an amazing read. It clarified so many different pieces of the cosmic jigsaw puzzle, and I was making connections constantly, you know, between Sitchin and Merciniak and the Pleiadian channelings and this and that and Gurdjieff and Ouspensky, and it was just all coming together. So I encourage everybody. I mean, you know, I'm sure your other books are wonderful too. This is the only one I've read so far, but I encourage everybody.
Oh, well, you chose my favorite. I really, really love Atlantis Rising, and I can tell you that bringing that book in was really a journey for me as a channel and as a student of sacred wisdom.
Now, you're channeling a group from the sixth density, which is the Sirian Council. And according to what they say in this book, I'm going to just kind of focus on the book because it really has a lot of pertinent data that we need to be aware of today. There's a lot going on in our little part of the universe. Can you help us to clarify what happened with the falls of Atlantis? I guess there were 3, and how all of this is connected to these times.
Well, yeah, Atlantis has had 3 primary, you know, we think of Atlantis, we think of a sort of a finite time of civilization, like, let's say even 10,000 years worth of civilization. And the council tell us that this is a civilization that basically spanned 100,000 years or so of time. And it's unbelievable for us to think about that much time. So the first thing I would like to suggest is that here we are looking at what's happening in a 10-year span in our lifetimes. And try to imagine 1,000 years. Try to imagine 10,000. Try to imagine 50,000 or 100,000 years of a civilization in all of its evolutionary phases. And the book basically goes at great lengths into describing how there was a great civilization, the golden civilization of Atlantis, where the most important part of that information, I think, is that the civilization still walked with 12 strands of DNA.
Yes, and that brings us to what happened to humanity, and with the stripping of the DNA to, I've heard 2 strands, the intentional removing of our ability to actually have abilities, and how that's tied in with the Annunaki cycle and the Nibiru planet.
You want me to go into all that in one interview?
Well, we'll go as far deep as we can, and then we'll do a part 2 and 3 and 4. How's that?
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Well, first of all, thank you for bringing me into a family of such wise people as you named, including Barbara Marciniak, who was very avant-garde in her wonderful book, Bringers of the Dawn. She talked about how there's very similar information here, how humanity was basically brought down to 2 strands of DNA due to a number of events that occurred to interrupt the great experiment that was conducted on Earth. And the Council bring that information forward as well. They call it the Great Sirian Experiment. And this experiment was to seed, according to them, a race of a species, let's say, of light-bodied beings who were able to hold resonance in the third dimension and who were to serve as guardians for the entire 3D realm. This was our legacy. And because of intervention in that plan, we were taken down to 2 strands of DNA, which is our double helix, to keep us from realizing that important role and bringing the planet up to such an intense vibration. The reasons for that, why these guys wanted our planet to be in a lower vibration, are elaborated in the book that you're reading.
Right. Now, this is also connected to our current ascension cycle, which is, we're in the window now, somewhere between now and 2015, and we know that 2012 is now being focused on by practically the entire globe, but there's a connection between that also and the secret government, HAARP, chemtrails, and the manufactured plagues. So these are all things that most people, our audience will all probably know about, but there's a very sinister element going on here on the planet, isn't there?
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
There's been a shift in how I perceive people understanding this, because in the earlier years when I was channeling the Council in those first books, the trilogy, the Sirian Revelations, of which Atlantis is the second, this was really pretty groundbreaking information, the stuff that's in those books. David Icke was coming out with the reptilian information. The Council were telling us about the 2000 who run the planet. And it was pretty tough bringing that information out.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, when it came time to do No More Secrets, which is the third book, I couldn't get a publisher to accept it, even though I had 2 published books out that were doing well. They said, you got to be out of your mind. This is too over the top. It's too dangerous, and we don't want to put ourselves out there. One publisher said, this is some of the best channel material we've ever read, but it would be too dangerous to try to put this out. And I thought, wow, I'm not afraid of being dangerous. I'm going to put it out. And so now, why I say I'm feeling this really, I'm feeling almost giggly, if you can imagine, in the face of this darkness, because I can really see how we are moving through it. I can see a phenomenal shift in the numbers of light workers that are out there getting clear. And I just came back from Amsterdam. I talked to 650 people, standing room only, and I said to them, you know, guys, we used to be 5, we used to be 10, 50 people. Now we're hundreds, we're 500s, we're thousands all over the planet. The planet is rising. And so, yeah, there is a sinister force, most definitely, but it's weak. It looks like it's stronger than it is because they've got control of the media.
Right. But that is all, that will all fall apart over time, isn't that correct?
Absolutely. It's like, you know, an animal when it's confronted with a bigger animal and it stands on its hind legs and puts on a big show to make it look like it's big enough to defend itself. And this is, I just can't help thinking that these dark guys, you know, they've got the media and they're doing everything they can to scare the bejesus out of us. But we see it crumbling down. We see the old going. It's time for the old to go.
Yeah.
And so is it. Are we the dirty baby?
Right on. I agree with that 1,000%.
And I want to say also that people are tired of being filled with fear. And there's a new vibration climbing. I think we're looking at a revolution here.
Yes, and that is backed up by Cliff High's work from the WebBot project, and you know, I've had him on a couple of times, and he talks about the analysis of the linguistics, and they say the same thing, that, there's going to be a revolution, there will be whistleblowers, there will be some scary things for people who have assets that they're attached to, like material things, and that's all part of the process of the old washing away to make space for the new.
That's absolutely right. In fact, when people are asking me to talk about 2012 and the movie, and I tell them, well, I see the leader, how do you call that?
What's that?
The trailer, there you go. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
trailer of the new movie, and this guy's run down the street, and the world is crumbling behind him. And I like to say two things. First of all, what a beautiful metaphor for the old world of rulers and kings and Wall Street and power.
Oh, yes. And religions and wars.
And war. I'm tired of it all already. So this movie, I think we're going to be delighted to see that, number one, it isn't really going to scare people as we all worry about as much as we think it will. And two, it's wonderful that these fears are coming to the surface. Let's bring them on up and look at them.
Yes.
And look at this as a metaphor rather than a statement about what will happen in 2012.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I've often thought that all our life is really a metaphor. And we take it so seriously here at the 3D level, but if you look at your own life and stop focusing on anything beyond that, you can get lessons out of every moment as long as you're present to them.
Absolutely. And what a great message for us all now to realize that you've got this moment. What do you, in Patty's film, in fact, I just talked to Patty about it, that moment in the film when I say, okay, yeah, we're in already martial law. What more do you need for it to be martial law? But what are you going to do with this day? Think about this beautiful day. Yeah. And without being simplistic, I really think that's all we've got, this day.
That's it. That's it. And we do still have choice as to how we create our days. And, I think that that will become clearer as the Mayan calendar kind of unleashes its different energies. Well, you just rolled over into the sixth night a few days ago, and I've had some amazing, it's been like a cosmic whirlwind in my life. Even though I live in the country and it's surrounded by pine trees, it's been one lesson after another, just up in my face, up and release, and drama, and, this is really the first day I've had to kind of relax.
Well, I'm glad you're doing that with me.
Yeah, I love it. I just love talking to you. So have you noticed, are you following, obviously you do, the Mayan calendar does play into what's happening here. How do you see that from your perspective?
From my perspective, the Mayan calendar represents the end of time as we know it. And the council, the teachings in the books talk about the end of time because we are quickly moving toward this vortex where we slip into the next dimension, which is the fourth. And there's always a debate with people that talk about ascension. Are we going to the fourth or the fifth? The council say we're moving through the fourth, which is kind of a clearing station. And that time as we understand it does not exist in the fourth. So I look at this Mayan calendar that all dread means the end of the world, the end of life, the end of everything. And I think, no, what better way to tell us that time ends than to create a calendar that runs out?
That's very clever, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's typically a very shamanic way to teach because the shamans, I would humbly like to suggest that I am one, love to teach without overtly teaching, without telling you this is the way things are. Because if you don't understand it yourself, you don't get it. You never really get it if someone says, oh, wow, you're a being from the 10th dimension, and you adopt this idea that you've descended to help humanity move through the ascension. Unless you really get this yourself, this information, these connections, this wisdom,